Thank you. Thank you. How y'all doing tonight? It's really crazy and surreal to be here at this time. I think you must love Jesus a lot to be here on a Sunday night. I've never seen you on a Sunday night. And so this is really exciting. Some of you came to church this morning and couldn't get enough. And so here you are tonight. I think the devil is afraid that this many people would show up on a Sunday night to build a church. I don't know. It's really crazy to be here. I got to be honest. A couple weeks ago I shared that I didn't think we'd be here at this point. Oh, that's my son. He would pull that out of the wall and you would never hear me again. Anyway. I gotta be honest, I never knew that we would be here at this time. I think I shared that a couple weeks ago. I apologize for my lack of faith. I didn't think that by now, 8 months into a new church, a church plant, that we'd already be going after a building. Now, it's not that I didn't think we'd be here eventually. I always knew that our church would be influential in the city, and that we would actually change what's going on around here. I knew that. I just didn't think it would be this fast. We weren't necessarily in a hurry, because we're not here for a sprint, we're here for a long run. We want to be here for a long time. If you want to influence a community like Pastor Rick was talking about, you got to be here for a while. You got to put down roots. And so on one hand, it totally stunned me that we might be in a position to buy a building, but on the other hand, it makes all the sense in the world. Because God has called us to make this our home. This is probably the most dense area in San Diego. Within 10 minutes is 1 million people. And this is where people come to do life. It is a destination area, not just Point Loma, but the surrounding areas around here. And God has called us to influence this area. And by the way, when you have a church home, you can go from just serving to influencing a community. And I'm going to talk more about what that looks like tonight. But again, to be here today is really surreal. It is unforgettable for me. And to have all you here, this is really our core. These are the people that are all in to say, hey, I want to be a part of this. There was a number of people who couldn't be here tonight, but you being here on a Sunday night eating Chinese food is awesome. And so we're glad that you guys came. And it's really surreal. Again, I just didn't think that at this time, that we would be in this position to be buying a facility. Well, on Tuesday, we were in here for staff meeting, worshiping and praying right up here in the front for the very first time. And it was a crazy time for us. We were kind of speechless, a lot of tears, to be worshiping in this room for the first time. Winning spiritual battles already for victories that we will see for years to come. It was really, really special. But as we were in here, I began to see pictures and visions. I felt like God was giving me of people coming into this place from that door and that door and that door, seeing people get healed, give their life to Jesus, see people who don't have hope, leave with hope. And it just began to really make me emotional because I thought about you. Because everyone that will come in here for the next 1, 5, 10, 30, 35 years, anybody who sits in these seats, and maybe in 35 years these will not be the same seats, but anybody who sits in this room will be sitting in your sacrifice. It was the sacrifice that you made as a church family to see other people know God. It's an incredible thing. For the next, again, years and years to come. Spouses we've never met yet. Friends we've never made yet. Kids we've never had yet. They're going to be in here and they're going to find Jesus. Because you did that. And that's a special thing. And again, to be at this place already, it just blows me away. I don't know what else to say. That for many of you, I met with you and asked you about a year ago to help start a church. And now just 8 months later, I'm asking you to help establish a home. It's really wild. I got to stop preaching because I'm not supposed to preach right now. I'm supposed to be talking about the building. Preaching is for Sunday morning, but I can talk about this building for 2 hours, and I will. But we promised to get you out of here before 7. So I'm going to go in and talk a little bit about the building. We're going to have some slides that are up here. I want to explain to you in detail kind of what's been going on, kind of what this building is all about. And really the first thing we wanted to share was how this place is really going to be a home for the hopeless. It's a place where we're going to be able to do some ministry we've never been able to do before. This is a statistic that if you go to Captivate Church, you've got this memorized. Right? I talk about this all the time. 5% of people in San Diego go to church on Sunday. Only 5. Only 5. And I know we're becoming used to that, but I don't want to become numb to it. Because how many know I don't want that to be the norm. I think we can change the needle on that in 5 or 10 years. I really do. I really, really do. And so as of this moment, that is a reality though. Okay, so what this place does, first of all, is it enlarges our capacity to serve people. Just really on a conservative number, we'd be able to serve a few thousand people in this facility on a weekend. When you have a building of your own, you don't need to set up and tear down. You don't need to rent extra days. We could have service on Friday. We could have service on Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday. I don't know. How spiritual are you? What days will you show up? Because we're here. We don't need to set it up. because it's already set up. Praise God, you know? And so it just enlarges our capacity to serve people. There's some renovations that we want to do on the front end in this building, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. The next thing on here is that San Diego's, this is scary for a lot of us, but there's supposed to be 1 million new people to move here by 2025. Now, it doesn't account for people moving away, so I'm not saying the population is going to go up by 1 million people, but how many know new people need a new church? And they need a family that's going to bring them in. And one way that we really want to be able to serve that is this Child Development Center. All right, some of y'all were able to walk over there, the building they've added on. This is true that this building has been here for a long time. That building has not. They built that building in 2005. And so the structure over there was really, really awesome. A little bit of paint and a little bit of love and care. That could be a place where we raise up the next generation. One thing we want to do with that is we would love to start a preschool. Right? The mayor put out a thing it was a few months ago, said we do not have enough preschools in San Diego. We need to start more. And that's true. If you go to a lot of preschools in the area, they have year-long, 2-year-long waiting lists. What a ministry that would be to reach this community, to be able to watch their children during the week. It would just be another way to raise up the next generation and reach families. There's a way we can do it here in this building. I think the next thing is about homeless people. It's crazy that such a beautiful city like San Diego, we have the 4th highest homeless population. And the interesting thing about Point Loma, and one of the reasons I love it so much, is because it is so diverse. It's people who have been here for a long time, and then you have one of our prominent colleges. You have people who have a lot of money, and then you have homeless people all over the place. It's wildly diverse. I think it represents San Diego at large really, really well. And so having a place like this, there's bathrooms, there's a commercial kitchen, which many of you walk in. There's just so many more ways we can serve people. Not only our people, but the people who have yet to be served. And this is just another way that we're going to get to do it. And the last one, I think, is about you, which is really exciting. This statistic is really crazy. 85% of people who make a decision for Christ do it before the age of 18. And a lot of you know these people. Maybe they grew up in church, they went away, but a lot of times they come back. They come back to the roots because of what the Bible says. If you raise a child in the way of the Lord, they'll remember it. They might just come back because of the seeds that you planted. We want to plant seeds in you in this facility. I want to give our man, Sam B., our youth pastor, I want to give him a space to absolutely do some crazy youth ministry. So that's what we're able to do here. Yeah, we're clapping for you, Sam. I love Sam. He's great. He's got a vision for you. Giving him a space. Y'all were in the other room. We all have called that room different things, by the way. The other gathering room on the other side. He's calling it a youth room. We're calling it a church planning, training facility. They're calling it like a choir room. I mean, like we're all trying to claim every room in this building. We're like trying to call dibs. But it really is a youth room. And obviously on the outside, to be able to have youth events and dodgeball, all kinds of stuff. Different ways we can serve you, which is really, really exciting. I think the next part talks about Wholehearted headquarters. Okay, this is really what has to do with influence that I was talking about earlier. Imagine having a place 7 days a week where we can train people, not only leadership stuff, but to go out actually into the city. Now, all these things on here, by the way, are not things we've never done before. Somebody on our staff right now has led one of these kinds of programs. At the church we used to work at, there's a few of us, we ran a leadership college, we had an internship program, we had 16 interns right when we were leaving. In fact, one of them, his name is Caleb. He was just up here on stage. Where's he at? Caleb, in the back with his son. He was one of my interns a few years ago. We said, man, we got to hire this guy. He's too good. I can't lose him. And so how many more Calebs are we going to train to be interns? Actually, right now, we have 2 people who have been asking, listen, we want to be an intern. We don't have an internship program, but by popular demand, we're throwing one together at the last moment. But with a building, we would really be able to do that, which would be great. Church planning residency. Pastor Rick was just up here. He actually runs a church planning network across the globe. Okay, so he knows what he's doing. And that's a really big part of our vision. So having a building where we could train people every single day, our influence will just multiply by that much more. By the way, right now, I've shared this on a Sunday. We're training and supporting 4 church planners in this area right now. And we're supporting them financially, which is really, really awesome. In fact, I think, is there a map? Is that what's on the next slide? Yeah, this is the area where they're at. We got one in Tijuana. I mean, I like to visit that guy. I like to go down and get some food and hang out and minister at the same time. You know what I mean? And so there are some that we're already supporting here in this area. There's a couple more that we're looking at even right now. And really the hope is, again, within 10 minutes of every San Diegan. They say that Christian people will drive up to 30 minutes to go to the church that they like to go because they have friends or they have family. But people who don't know God won't go more than 10 minutes. That is the average. And so that is our heart, to help plant churches and support all of the area of San Diego. And we see this as kind of a hub, as a training center to send people out. We could go to the next slide. Strategically located. Now, obviously, we're even closer to the action than we are at Point Loma High School. We joke about it the last few weeks. If you've been there under the construction, I thank everyone for finding that place. It's not easy to find at this current moment. It's really not. Even today, I heard our second service, the parking lot was overflowing. People had to park on the street and then walk into the parking lot and then walk up that hill and then make a turn and then they stop. It was like hard to find. I don't even know, we're right on the street right here. We got Rosecrans right there. And there's 150,000 different people that drive by this building every single week. It's seen. The cool thing about it is it's tall. You can see it from Rosecrans, which is a really, really amazing thing. It says in this place we could have a 400-seat auditorium. Right now this fits about 250 to 300, but if we put chairs in here, which is what we want to do, kind of right away, it fits way more people. Also, actually, I'm going to talk about that later. That's the renovations. We're not there yet. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But anyway, we really love this location. It's kind of right in the middle of the action. It's one of the reasons we had to look at this building. Because when we saw where it was, we're like, we just got to at least go look at it. Because it's so close. A lot of people in our church don't live in Point Loma. You drive in. Well, this is even closer. It's even closer to people coming in, which is really exciting. I think the 8 and the 5, you could argue this, but that's like almost the heart of San Diego right there. Highway 8 and Highway 5. We're 3 main lights away from that. That's a really, really exciting thing. I almost had the whole thing memorized, but then I didn't. Anyway, people have been asking, why now? Why do we think that we're ready? Well, here's a couple highlights. If I could brag on you for just a minute. Obviously, we launched 8 months ago. We had a ton of people that helped us launch. We were able to serve a ton of people. People told us in Point Loma that Halloween was a big deal. I was like, sure, okay. I don't know if any of you were there. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. There was no sidewalk that you could see, just humans, like everywhere. It was really crazy. And so we were able to serve that, kind of help get the word out. At the end of the year, this is actually really important, we were able to hit our financial goal, having 3 months in reserve just to keep our church financially stable, which was a really important thing for us. But the other thing that happened at the end of the year, in 2018, I was speaking at a different church right there at the end of December in 2018, and the real estate agent for this building was there. I mean, talk about a God thing. And so the pastor asked me to share about kind of what was going on in Captivate. And so he reached out to me. He said, hey, it sounds like it's going really well. There's a building near you need to look at. It wasn't even on the market yet. And so through that contact is kind of how we got into this building, or at least looking at it, which was a really cool thing. I'll talk more about that later. Yeah, we're able to, right now we have over 100 people volunteer. Obviously this was going to be our leader night. And this is crazy to me that all y'all showed up, because we announced it once. On a Sunday, we didn't really promote it at all. It was supposed to be our leader night. We thought, we'll just announce it once, and here y'all are. It's a really exciting thing, but we have a ton of people who serve. Obviously, we've gone to 2 services, so we needed to enlarge our capacity for that. Easter was a crazy, crazy experience for us, which was really, really cool. And then, of course, we have all of our small groups. And then just a few weeks ago, we announced this building project, which was really, really exciting. And then obviously one of the big ones is the construction. Again, we talk about it all the time, but the Point Loma High School is doing a 6-year construction plan. And so when we showed up 2 weeks ago, there were things that were there were like, we didn't know. It was like a surprise. There was things today that we showed up and we're like, it was kind of a surprise. We were just kind of making it up as we go. We hear things, and Alex does a really good job. Pastor on our staff, is one of his jobs. He's the liaison with the school. And so he communicates with them all the time, doing his darndest, doing his best to like get some info, but it's kind of hard because they don't give us all the info. So sometimes we show up, and one time we showed up and there was nobody there for like multiple hours. Yeah, it was actually a guy on our team who broke into the building. That's all I'm going to say. There's no more of that story. You'll have to find out more later. Anyway, what's the next slide? Oh, forget it. Let's go to the next one. Oh, frequently asked questions. Yeah, what I want to do is, there's been a lot of y'all asking the same questions, like over and over again. So one of the main things we wanted to do tonight was answer some of those. I'm still within time. What do you know? I know someone's timing me over here. Anyway, so I want to answer some of these questions that I've been hearing a lot. What is the actual price of the building. It's another crazy story. So when we came in here in December to look at it, the price was a lot higher than we were willing to pay or wanting to pay. And that's, again, nothing on the church. They had a goal of what they were trying to hit, and that's awesome. It really wasn't just where we were at. And so the cool thing about this building is, and I've shared this before, that 80% of church buildings in the last 3 years in San Diego were sold to developers. They were torn down, and they're building condos and living spaces and all that, which is nothing on a developer. They're just doing a good job. They're doing a good job. How many know some of these buildings are places that were built by good Christian people like you to worship God in? And so one really cool thing about this church is they really had that hope that a church would buy this place, which is really cool. Obviously, they wanted to take care of their people and their church, but their heart was that a church would come in here and continue to worship God. And so I got to commend, this place has been really good to us. Pastor Paul, the current pastor of this church, really nice man. He's shown us around probably way more times than he thought he was going to, because we like to come here a lot. And so they've been really, really good to us. But in the course of the last 6 months and talking to them, they've come down $1.3 million to meet us where we are at. So the actual selling price of this building is $3.9 million, which is the price of a nice house in Point Loma. But this is a lot bigger than that, which is really great. And we've been told, I think our real estate agent was here just a little bit ago, Nate Cadeau, doing a great job. Love you, man, wherever you're at. He came and showed up to support. He says a great, amazing price. A really amazing price for a church to be able to buy that. And so that is a really, really encouraging thing. So that was the price on it. It took about 6 months. And Pastor Rick has been in correspondence with them almost nonstop to get them down, haggling them. No, in a loving way. Yeah, I get it. Anyway, and so he's doing a good job, kind of chatting with them the most, which has been really cool. So that is the price of the building, which was a huge God thing for us to come down that much. I just wasn't expecting it. Obviously, that's why we didn't talk about it a lot, because I didn't really. Again, apologies for my lack of faith, but I didn't know if it was a reality. I just did it. I'm like, we'll probably be at the school for a while. That's good. We were happy with that. But they wanted to help us out, and that was a really amazing thing. When do we move in? Well, as of this week, we're entering into escrow officially. We're already in escrow. Okay. And so a building like this, the escrow is a little bit longer, but we hope the escrow will end latest end of August, actually, which is really, really cool. So August 30th. You should just say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, August 30th, that would be, but we could end sooner, which is really, really good, especially as funds come in, and obviously we're trying to raise money. The sooner that happens, we could actually get in here sooner. And barring that there's no structural damage, that's one of the things that we're asking people to pray for. At the end of my time, we're going to go into a time of prayer and worship just a little bit before we close. There's going to be some things that we've asked you to pray for. And one of them is just that we have a team of people in our church, architects, electrical people, commercial real estate agents at our church who come forward and said, I want to help. And so we got a whole team that Rick is overseeing at our church who are kind of inspecting, appraising, hoping that there's nothing wrong with this place. We haven't seen anything majorly wrong. And the reason that's important is because if there is nothing majorly wrong, then we can move in practically right away. And you can't quote me on this, okay? But it would be my dream. This is just me. My dream. It would be my dream to be in here by our 1-year anniversary. That would be crazy. That'd be crazy. Yeah, I would love that. Again, barring there's nothing wrong, so we're going to be praying for that. So we could move in by September. Is that okay? Kind of Weston look like. I like getting there at 5:30 a.m., you know? No, I don't. Anyway. Are we planning on renovating it? Yes, like a ton. Anyway, it's cool that you guys. It's cool that you guys came in today because this is as raw as it gets. We haven't even cleaned anything because we don't own it, and so like every room's got stuff in it and all that, and you're still like freaking out, which I think is really cool for us because I think as we gradually have more and more opportunity to have the school and have a place like this. It's making us tough. I think anything that we have in the future that's nice, we're really going to appreciate. Because we knew what it was like to set up and tear down for a year. We knew what it was like to have church, couldn't find it. We've experienced that. It's going to make us tougher. And so even if we move in here and nothing changes, that wouldn't bother me at all. I would be okay with that. Now there's things we want to do. The cool thing about having a home is you have time to fix it up. You don't have to do it all at once. And so that's a really exciting thing. But like I said, we love to put chairs in here. We love to paint it. I love to paint the outside. I really like the skin tone tan, but we would like to paint it a little bit. These walls right here are what is known as facade. And I would not have known that because somebody told me that. So I sound real smart. But these are facade walls, meaning that you could take them out and it wouldn't really affect the structure of it. And so what we like to do is take those walls out, make the stage not so deep, bring the rows up so we can fit more people in here. That's one thing that we've talked about doing. In the room over there, we love to make that space a lobby space. How cool, how big that is. I love it. We love to have a coffee shop in there, kind of blow out the roof. The roof's kind of short, and so there's actually space for us to take it out. We love to do that. Love to fix the backyard space a little bit for kids, and I saw a bunch of kids playing on it earlier, which is really cool. Anything that would serve you better is, that's what we would like to do. And so there's some things on the front end that we would like to renovate. Oh, the other thing that's exciting is we have a permit to put in a balcony, which is really cool. There used to be a balcony in here, but they didn't need the space anymore with this, so they put a wall on. But there's rooms up there, and so we can open that up and put a balcony. That would be really cool. They also have a permit to extend the building and blow out those walls so that lobby space could just be more of this room, and we could have all the lobby in there. So there's a couple things that we're kind of talking about doing. Anyway, we could talk about that for a long time, but that's some of the things on the front end that we definitely talk about doing. And here's the question I've gotten very most. Is this a guarantee? It's hard really to say that anything in life is a guarantee other than Jesus loves you and you are going to heaven if you believe in Him. That's about all I have as it relates to a guarantee. But this is important. It's kind of like what I said this morning. Is it a guarantee? Is it a guarantee that Joshua, and maybe some of you haven't been going to our church, I don't know, but we're going through the book of Joshua. God's calling His people into the promised land. He says, I'm giving this to you. But then He tells them to go take it. And so which is it? Again, we've talked about this. It's both. This is what it looks like to partner with God. There's a lot of promises in the Bible that God promises us something, but there is a measure of obedience that is attached to it. God says, all things will work out for the good if you love God and you live according to His purpose. How many know that's a measure of obedience that's attached to it? There's a part that you play in it. The Bible says you will reap a harvest if you don't grow weary in doing good. There's a part that we play. Does that make sense? This is how God likes to move. And so my point is if we do our part, we know that God's going to do His part. And so is it a guarantee? I think a little bit of it is up to us. We believe God's calling us into this. But nothing is a guarantee. But it is looking good. But it is going to take a sacrifice for us. We're trying to raise $1 million in our church in the next 3 months. Today was the first offering we took. And do you know how much money we raised today? Would anybody like to know how much money we raised in one day? In fact, the day's not over. We had some people tell me, I came tonight and I was going to give tonight. So in 5 hours, we've raised $325,000. Really good cue. Let's just worship God after that, man. Yeah, we're going to worship a couple songs and pray. Here's what I want to say. Praise God for that, to do that in a day. But how many know we're not even halfway there yet? Still a lot of work to do. And I love it. We had some really large gifts. We had somebody that gave, I think, $20. How many know God wants both? I love that we serve a God. He said, not about the amount, it's about the sacrifice it cost you. God's looking at your heart. That's what matters to me. And we said it this morning, it's so much more than money. We've never passed a bucket around. At our church, we've never done a series on money. I'm not saying we won't, because it's important. It's just not something we want to be pushy with. It's more than that. It's a discipleship issue. It's something that God calls us into. I would rather us raise money over the course of months and have an army of people who give gifts that kind of build toward it, rather than have someone just give it to us. I mean that. Why? Because I want the story with you. More than I want a building, I want the experience of sacrifice that we did together to turn around and be like, look what we did with God. We did that. No, they didn't just give it to us. That would be easier. But how many know that the greatest things in life aren't easy? They cost you something. This has to cost us something. It has to. This is just how God moves. And so what's it going to cost you? Again, we'll be talking about this in the next several months at our church. Just a special time to start it off with our Wholehearted home. offering. Church, you've done amazing. I can't lie. What an amazing day to raise that in just 5, 6, 7 hours. How long we had church? It feels like it was yesterday. Today was a long day. Yeah, I was there at 5 a.m. Anyway, so an amazing time to be able to do that one day. We have a long ways to go, and I'm excited to do it.